Hi, I'm Scott from Whisky and Wealth Club, here with Pat Cooney from Bowen Distillery. Pat, can you just tell us a little bit about where you see the Irish whisky market going?
Well, the Irish whisky has had a really up and down history. You know, if you go back to the turn of the last century and you were in America or New York and you ordered the whisky, you got Irish whisky. Irish whisky is 90% of the world whisky market. But since that time, with Prohibition, with a gentleman here, he invented the continuous still. That was a much more efficient way of making whisky. The Irish whisky distillers didn't adopt it, so they were much more expensive. Then the Second World War came along. So if you put all that together, the Irish whisky industry went from 90% of the world whisky industry right down to 4% of the world market. In the 80s, Irish whisky was only selling about 400,000 or 500,000 cases a year. Since that time, it's grown to 10 million cases a year this year, and it's projected to grow to 20 million cases by 2025. So the future for Irish whisky looks really, really bright.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Our family business goes way back, probably to like the 70s. The town supply of water that was supplying the soft drinks was intermittent. It was on and off, quality wasn't great, it was full of chlorine and fluoride. And the local postman, he used to say to Pat, there's a great water source in there. So they then drilled, you went about 216 meters deep, and as the story goes, it was like hitting gold, you know, water just gushed up. And that basically became Tipperary water. All of the kids were involved in that business. I looked after the water side of it. James was involved in finance. My brother Paddy was involved in sales, and my sister Salyam, she actually managed the largest wine and spirits import company in Ireland. One day we were driving past here in Drogheda, because we have another warehouse in Drogheda, and we looked in here and we said, Jesus, that'd make a deadly distillery and brewery.
The whole distillery has been designed to be a visitor attraction that's going to be very friendly for visitors, where we can explain the whole grain to glass story of whisky and the great history and heritage that Irish whisky is and that Irish whisky has. Whisky and Wealth Club came to us, wanted to know could they purchase some of the first new make whisky from the distillery. Of course, this was attractive to us because the capacity of the distillery is about 800,000 LPA, that's 800,000 litres of pure alcohol. Whisky and Wealth Club coming in enabled us to, so first of all, fund full production of that from day one, and also it's very nice to be able to give a share of that to Whisky and Wealth Club so that they can then sell it on to a great number of their customers and clients, so as to really spread the word of whisky. And the one thing to say is that every barrel of whisky sold through Whisky and Wealth Club will be exactly the same as what we will use for our own two labels, Bowen for pot still and the Whistler for malt.
Whisky and Wealth Club has, I suppose, chosen us in the whisky industry because, you know, we have a lot of heritage and a lot of provenance. Personally, I think we have the best looking distillery in Ireland as well. What we're going to do here is super premium, ultra premium. You know, we're only going to do pot still and malt for the Bowen brand. So I think it's a bit of trust from you guys to invest in us, that, you know, what we're going to do. So in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, your casks of whisky are obviously going to be worth a lot more than what you paid up front. And then it comes down to what you want to do with it. Obviously, we have a bottling service, so if you want to bottle it off for your family, but otherwise the cask of whisky is going to be very valuable.
Pat, as you know, our business model is quite a unique business model. How do you find our relationship working with Whisky and Wealth, and how's that going to benefit you?
Laying down whisky is a very expensive business. Distilling whisky is a very expensive business. Investing in a distillery is a very expensive business. So Whisky and Wealth Club, really, by taking up some of our production at the early stage of new make whisky, has given us some capital to invest in more working capital, so that we can get this distillery up to full production, which is about 800,000 litres of pure alcohol of whisky every year.
As an accountant, the whisky business is a terrible financial model in the fact that you are producing every day, spending quite a lot of working capital on getting that product into a barrel, but you actually can't sell it for 3 years minimum, as the Irish legislation says. And that makes any business very difficult to run. When you don't have something to sell and you're throwing down a lot of working capital, it's only going one way. So, of course, we want to keep as much of the production for our own brands down the road, but in the short term, our relationship with the likes of Whisky and Wealth Club is of huge benefit because it allows us to get some income into the business that we can use for working capital to get laying down the stock and producing excellent whisky at year 3. When everyone sits down at the table and looks at the benefits for both sides of the party and the investors, it makes complete sense. There has to be a lot of trust there. As a family business, I think there's a lot of trust. It's more personal. You're dealing with a family business. It's the family that run the business, and you're dealing with nobody else but family.
I found the tour very, very exciting, very interesting as well. So after coming down and meeting with the owners and meeting with you guys as well, just the whole shared experience with everybody else that's come along as well, you just feel a part of what's going on here. Completely delighted to be invested in it.
Extremely impressed, very impressed with the cleanliness, the beauty, the techniques. I most definitely would recommend investing in something like this.
It was a great opportunity. Obviously, the product of many years of experience from a very dedicated group.
I think it's a great form of investment because I do believe that the spirits and the whiskey market will go up, and it's a good way of investment. I think better than properties, better than art.
It's an eye-opener for me. I've already invested with Whiskey and Wealth, and I hadn't been on a tour because I was away. So I'm getting the tour now. I'm very happy to get it, and probably will invest further.
The complex is so brilliantly organised, and the people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the people you trust, not the building. And I would feel that I could trust these people.
I was kind of expecting to see just I don't want to say just a whiskey distillery, and I was surprised to see that there was also cider and beer and gin. I mean, there's a lot of different influences here and a lot of different, kind of heritage. Something that was very interesting for me in just visiting the distillery was the fact that there's so much sustainability built into it. That was a real plus for me, just in terms of investment.